right, guys. So you've gone over the examples of line. You've gone over pop art. We've looked at two specific artists, Roy Lichtenstein and Andy Warhol, and their use of lines in their art. And we've also gone over what an onomatopoeia is and how it was used in pop art, specifically by the cartoon artists of the time and by Roy Lichtenstein in particular to create this style of art. So we're going to start working through Pixlr and looking at how we create this artwork in the actual software. So you're going to create your own artwork. This is just a tutorial about how you're going to do that. And the artwork must have the following elements. It must have a background. Okay, you can see I have a solid color here, but I'm going to show you how to put an overlay over it if you decide to. A speech bubble. It has to have a use of lines. So I've got my diagonal lines here. It has to have use of shape. Okay, so if the speech bubble is shape, stars shape, the circle, and obviously the text. And an onomatopoeia, and it has to use color. So those are the 6 things that you are going to be graded on when your project is completed. Okay, so we're going to go to Pixlr. I've logged in. You'll notice I have my latest projects down here. All right, you don't want to do that. You want to go to this right here. So you're going to go to Create New. And then from Create New, you're going to go over to Photo. And from Photo, you're going to pick the landscape option 10 by 8 to give you a nice big canvas to work from. If you want to title it Onomatopoeia, okay, you can do that. And then we're going to hit Create. So now we have our template. This is our canvas that we're going to be working on. Okay. I'm going to start with the background. I'm on my first layer. You'll notice there's layers over here. You can create everything in one layer, or if it's easier to do each element in a separate layer, you can do it that way too. All right, so I'm going to first start by adding my background. So I'm going to go over here to a layout and template and click that. And you'll notice that background is turned off. So I am going to turn my background on. And then from here, you're going to pick a color. Make sure it's one that you like, one that pops. All right. I'm going to go with green for today. And then you obviously get the color scale here. So let's kind of modify it. Maybe I'm going to go over to a lighter color, like a mint green. You have your options. Okay. Make sure, though, that it's going to be a color that really accentuates what you're working on. In pop art, they used a lot of red, a lot of black, a lot of yellow, and a lot of blue, a lot of primary colors to really draw the eye in. So that's something to consider when you're creating your artwork. I'm going to use like a sage green for this sample. So then I'm going to go over and I'm going to start to add my elements. So I'm going to go over here, add element and image. All right. So you'll notice if there's a crown next to it, obviously that means it's the paid version. We don't have that. So if you could search up 2 things, you can search up speech bubble. I find that the best way to do it is to search up comic. And then we get 3 free speech bubble options here. You could also use this one. What you cannot do are the 2 onomatopoeias that are already listed there, okay? Those would be great examples, but we're going to actually layer that later. So we don't want to select those now. If you want to select them at the end when you're choosing your word, go for it. So there are 2 options here under comic. For this one, I'm going to choose this guy. Okay, I'm working in the one layer. I'm working in my main layer here. All right. Now, if I decide that I want to do an overlay, I'm going to click this word right here, and I've got just a few samples. Most of them are paid. Okay, so if I want to, this is where if I want to add a texture to the background. All right, so maybe I want to do an overlay. You know what? I'm going to hold off on this guy. Maybe I'm going to add a little bit of an overlay here. So I'm going to drag it to the corner and then size it. Obviously, if you want it to go bigger than your canvas, you can just keep dragging it. If not, okay, but I like this guy. I think it's pretty. Okay, I'm going to adjust it a little bit because you know it's a little bright. So I'm going to go to toning and scene. Let me see. Maybe I'll pull it this way just a little bit. My light source. There's my color. So here you can kind of mess with it as you want to. Mess with the saturation. We've got tint hue all here. All right, so I've added my background. I'm going to go to my second layer and let me go back and add my comic. All right, so I don't want to move that. I want to go to this layer. Okay, so I'm going to make this guy big. I want to make him really, 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 really large. Oh, sorry, I'm having trouble with my mouse. All right, make it huge. Okay, so if we go back to what I have my background, I have my speech bubble. Now I want my use of line and use of shape. I want to add that. Okay, now I obviously already have some lines used in the outline here. But if I want to add some, let's go here. Let's try just typing in line, see what happens. All right, so I've got a lot of different options that I can search from. Okay. Maybe I like these. You decide. You can even type in lines, plural, and that will pull something else up. I like this geometric circle. I used this in my last sample. So I'm going to pick this one. Oop. All right. Maybe I'll try this one then because that one didn't work for some reason. All right, it's created a new layer for me. So I'm going to once again click it and maybe I'll make it bigger. You're going to get as fanciful as you want to here. You look at it. Do you like it? I don't know. Let's clear that out. Let's try something else. So that's the coolest part about doing this is that you get to decide what you want to do. Let's see what they have for circle. If I click shape, I'm obviously going to get a ton of different shapes. And if you keep scrolling, even though if you're still seeing these crowns, just keep scrolling because eventually you'll get to something that you can use that is free. All right, I like this. So I'm going to add this guy. I'm going to make him fit right there in my circles. That was looking kind of funky. All right, so now we're going to go to text. They've given you a ton of samples. I think go ahead and use one of the ones that they've given you. Orange is really cool. All right, you're going to click it. Obviously, again, my computer is just not allowing me to edit. I want to edit that. Go back to text. Right. See if I can edit this word. I guess I can't. Okay, so let's go to add text, add new text. All right, so here's where I want to add it. I'm going to choose Wham again because that's an easy one. I'm going to put some exclamation marks. I can choose what font I want. So I guess if I can't choose a set font, maybe I will use one of the fonts that they've given me. Oh, I like that font. All right, maybe I want to do a fill. Let's see what color. I'm kind of in pinks and blues, so let me just kind of rotate here. Let me do a dark blue. Let's do that. And then you can add your gradient and obviously your pattern. So here's where you can get more lines in there. Okay, let's do this guy. All right. What do we think? Yeah? All right, and of course, I don't know why it's white. Let's fill it. Let's do that blue again. And let's set the size. Okay, so we're going down to size. We're going to make it really big. And then you can align it left and right. You can curve it. Circle curve, half curve. Circle curve looks cool. Here's where you can spread it out, make it round. This is where you can flip it. You probably won't need to do that. Do you want to add a background color? We probably don't, because then it's going to block our elements. But I will add an outline because that really looks cool. So let's go ahead and try what punch out. Ah, that's cool, but I don't like it. So I go back. And then finally, do you want to put a shadow on there? Yes, I do. I like the shadow. And then I'm going to move it to where I want it to be. And maybe I'm going to size it a little bit bigger because I want it to kind of hit the corners. Oh, that's too big though. And remember, you can always rotate it within the text box too. All right. All right, so let's see. We've got use of color, check. We've got an onomatopoeia, check. We've got a use of shape, use of line. We've got a speech bubble and a background. All right. So again, that's just a very quick tutorial about how to do this. It will probably take you longer because, now that I'm looking at this, I may not like some of my visual elements. I may want something that looks a little bit more like that. Mess around with the software, figure it out, and create some really cool art.